The Quran describes the Holy Prophet in 2 instances as Ummi. This is never the case for any previous prophet before him. Was the Prophet illiterate? This label has generated much discussion amongst the exegetes, historians and scholars as to what exactly it meant. There were 3 explanations given for this word. Was that it meant the Prophet was unschooled or untaught, as the classical lexicological definition for the word Ummi was simply someone who didn't know how to read or write. The second explanation given was that this word indicated the Prophet being from Mecca, as this city was referred to in the Quran as al-Qurra, mother of all settlements. The third opinion was that Ummi referred to the fact that the Prophet was from an Arab community that had not received any form of divine guidance before. The Quran itself clarifies which of the 3 meanings was most likely intended and the rationale behind describing the Prophet in that way. Verse 48 of Surah Ankabut says, "And thou did not recite before this any book, nor did thou write it with thy right hand, for then those who make false claims would have doubted." From this verse we can conclude that the Prophet was untaught, and this in turn highlighted the miraculous nature of the Quran. For how was it possible for a person to produce a miraculous book like the Quran when they had not formally learnt to read or write? Had the Prophet learnt to read or write under someone, the polytheists of Quraysh would have used this against the Prophet to undermine the divine origin of the Quran and call it a fabrication. It has also been agreed to by historians that there are no recorded instances of the Prophet's life where he ever read or wrote anything, further adding emphasis to the miracle of the Quran. In addition, the number of literate people in Hijaz did not exceed 17 people, and had the Prophet been able to write or read, it would have been recorded. While it is the case that the Prophet was unschooled, in that he never learnt to read or write with anyone, it is important that we separate this from the Prophet being illiterate, as there are stark differences between the 2 notions. When it is said that a person is illiterate, what is being intended is that the person cannot read or write, whereas when it is said a person is unschooled, it merely reflects the fact that the person has not attended classes where he could learn. It can be argued that the lack of historical evidence of the Prophet writing or being referred to as Ummi does not definitely prove that the Prophet was illiterate, even though this is usually the case under normal circumstances. That being said, the fact that the Prophet did not display any ability to read or write should in no way be considered as a weakness or shortcoming. Reading and writing are tools to gain knowledge, and given the Prophet's direct access to revelation, such capabilities were not required.